Interest rates have made it so that suppose you have $500,000 in your retirement savings, or let's say 50 lakh rupees in your retirement savings, and you are an NRI citizen, you're living abroad, and you have a bank account, and you have your money stored away in a bank. And this bank has given you maybe a 0.5% to 1% in terms of its deposit interest rate. Now, this 1% is not giving you much. It's about $5,000, which you're happy to give away and purchase something like a car, which is something which you've been wanting to do. Whereas if I told you that you're getting a 5% interest rate, which is what it is at currently, then you would have missed out on $50,000, and you may not have taken that decision given the interest rate which we have right now. And another thing is that with interest rates being so low, another phenomenon is that people ended up chasing higher and higher returns because they had to make ends meet at some point. And that's what Howard Marks says, where retirees were investing in private equity and in SPACs because they were promising bottom of the barrel returns, something which they had to scrape something out of it because you couldn't just keep eating into your retirement savings. And pension funds were stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you saw pension fund managers taking on risks which they couldn't take, and they became desensitized to illiquidity, which meant that if a pensioner wanted to withdraw his money for a treatment or something, because costs of treatment are quite high when you're that old, you see that pension fund managers didn't have the liquidity to pay them back. And this is something which we saw during 2021. And finally, coming to the real negative effects of interest rate is that it's driven up inequality in society, where people like us who are sitting in a cushy air-conditioned room have access to equity markets. We've, over the past 2 years, just because of the Nifty's growth without doing anything, we've made about maybe 50 to 60% just because of nothing. We've done nothing except sit down and talk. And this is something which is sad, because those who don't have access to equity markets, especially in India where the penetration rate is about 4% or 3% of the population, you have 95% or 90% of the population who don't have access to these assets and are unable to cash in on this gain, and they still have the same inflation rate as we do, whereas we're comfortable and sitting in a nice cushy air-conditioned room. They're struggling to make ends meet. This is why low interest rates create income inequality, according to Howard Marks. And he says there is no other way to solve this apart from inflicting short-term pain by raising interest rates and keeping them at a certain elevated level above inflation, because you need to be able to reverse some of the damage you've done, even though in the short run this may be painful. What do you think about this?
I completely agree with what you're saying, but we have to take it one step further. What Howard Marks is saying is what central banks can do, which is raise interest rates and control, but the politicians themselves have to take the hard bite and not do populism politics. Just we have been fed into this notion that anytime inflation bites, the best way to solve it is give tax cut to businesses and the rich, and give wage rises to the poor. And that's not going to do anything, because fundamentally what's happening is this tax cuts to the rich cannot continue the way it is. And that there has to be a paradigm shift in the way politicians address this. And yes, I do understand lobby politics is the nature of the beast, and democracy works on this. But somewhere along the line, some leaders have to grow some kind of nails and say, no, yes, I don't mind losing an election. I don't mind losing popularity. And I don't mind losing some of my lobbyists, money as supporters who don't want to fund me, it's no problem. But for a society, on the larger good, on the longer scale, you have to do what is good. This is a fundamental problem with democracy, because what we run on very short election cycles. And if you're blessed to at least have a government for 5 years, you're lucky. In some countries, the election cycles have become so terrible, like UK right now. They have been dogged by the last almost 20 odd years of terrible political situation, where they've had 4 or 5 prime ministers from the same party going on in and out like a musical chair. Their policies are gone out the window. It makes completely no sense. That kind of politics leading to Brexit happening, where population has been fed nonsense and they do not know what is reality anymore. And this is happening in the US, where you have Trump sitting and feeding all kinds of nonsense. And not that the cohorts who are sitting aside with Trump in the Republican campsite Now DeSantis has also quit.
Dropped out.
Now you have Nikki Haley, who doesn't even know what the cause of the civil war is. And it's really funny. And she doesn't even know what history of the Deep South is. She's completely clueless in what she's talking. I'm not saying the Democrats are any better. They've become completely leftist.
Yeah.
The Bernie Sanders and the people of Bernie Sanders have taken the party to the extreme.
The funny thing is both sides want to raise deficit spending.
Correct. Just giving different reasons.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make sense.
One
and
wants
it's
to
not sustainable.
One wants to hand it over to the corporates. The other wants to hand it over to workers.
And both of which is what Howard Marks repeatedly says. And this reminds me of what Sashwath was talking about, was the Austrian School of Economics, where you have to allow regular pain to exist. It's like you cannot keep running on the treadmill for an infinite amount of time. You do have to now and then get off the treadmill and allow yourself to cool off. During those cool off periods are the times when you recover and you allow things to kind of settle back into some kind of a trend to have another explosive period of growth. Mm-hmm. Right now, no politician around the world wants to take this. Yeah. And this is what leads to. And not the democracy is the only one doing this. See it happening in China, where, yes, they opened their economy and they had this growth period, but they just wanted to sustain that growth at an impossible rate, which led to their bubble in their real estate sector, which is turned into a nightmare for them.
And they've destroyed their environment.
Correct. In the process of destroying the environment. And all of you might be wondering, okay, but why are we talking about all this?
Yeah.
Because all of us are living on this planet. All of us have children. All of us have families which are going to be left behind with this planet. Even if you grow old, you're at my age, you might be at Sashwath's age. You have to consider, what is it that we're doing? This just doesn't make sense. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And even companies like Apple are finding it hard to keep up with the pace of innovation. They've missed the AI bus and we have no clue. They seem a little rudderless right now. They're talking about their Vision Pro goggles and, doing a soft launch on that. And everyone's like looking at Apple and saying, Baba, what is happening? And I do beg to wonder, like Sashwath says, we overvalued all these Magnificent Seven companies to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore. Relying on these so-called Magnificent Seven companies to take us through to the future. Maybe we need a hard look at these Magnificent Seven.
And what can we do as investors? Now, that's the question which Howard Marks also looks at. He says, look, interest rates are going to keep going up and down. You need to figure out what price you're paying for these things meaning assets, and what return you're going to get on them. And the only part where interest rates come into this is discounting.
Yes.
You need to know what rate you want to discount at, what kind of returns you want on it. And there will always be out of favor assets in the market. And these are the kind of assets you have to be chasing. It is not prudent. It does not bode well when you chase companies which have already been accounted for their value. Even though a company like Nvidia or a company like Amazon or any of these companies are great companies which, are doing phenomenal things, you still can't get on board of these trains only because the ticket cost is already inflated so much where it doesn't make sense anymore. You need to find a gem before it has been identified as a gem, if that makes any sense.
And this is true in every aspect in life, just not investing, even in terms of what you're spending in terms of even your education. Let's say you're thinking about children going to college, or you're a person who's planning to, like Sashwath, go on further education. You have to see the cost of the debt or the investment you're making into your education. Is it going to be worth the payoff? Is it really, because with the availability of books and textbooks and knowledge and everywhere freely available, is it really necessary to get that sheet of paper? Are you ready to take on a burden of debt? Especially in India, it's not so bad. But in the US, taking on, student loan debt of $200,000 or more, depending on which college you're going to, can be something crazy.
Yeah.
So it is just not, in economics, it's just not investing. It's a part of every facet of your life.
Yeah.
So that's what Howard Marks goes about to say, that you have to consider what you're doing now and where is it going to take you. And consider that because the high interest rate cycles are going to affect student loan debts who are going to be new today. People who took on a student loan debt 10 years ago, their story is completely different from people who are going to graduate from school today and take on student loan debt.
Yeah.
So think these things carefully as you're going. This is what me and Sashwath are trying to say. Anyway, anything else you want to add, Sashwath, further?
No, that's about it.
Okay. So I hope you found this video informative and entertaining as always. Do share your comments down below, and me and Sashwath will have a look at it and try and answer your queries as the videos get on further. We do have a series of videos based on this topic, and we'll try to plug through them during this course of time we have. Thank you for watching the video. Bye.
Thank you.
Good evening. My team has decided to do another event. The last event was at Trivandrum, was a very successful one. So we decided to ask people where we wanted to do an event, and my team chose to do an event in Dubai. We are planning to do an event in Dubai on the 24th of February. The event is roughly scheduled between 3:30 to 5:30. It's a Saturday, you will have plenty of time. Those desirous of attending the event or meeting me may contact my team at the WhatsApp number given below or drop an email at the email ID given. My team will contact you and help you. I hope to meet you all in Dubai. It's not only Dubai, anywhere from the Emirates. I hope to see you there. Thank you. It's a great privilege and honor that so many of you in thousands have subscribed to my channel and have supported me. I have written 2 books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to berichenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support. If you like this video, press the subscribe button of my channel, hit the like button and turn on the bell notification.